Hello dear students, today we are going to explain a new grammar lesson for first preparatory stage. Today we are going to speak about the if conditionals. We have to take this term two conditional, the first and the second conditional. For the conditional sentences, let's see what is it. Conditional sentences consists of two parts. We have the if clause and the main clause. We have the if clause and the main clause in each sentence we speak with the conditional sentences. When the if clause comes at the beginning or start with it the sentence, I have to separate the two sentences using a comma. But when I start with the main clause, I will not put in the middle between the two sentences a comma. Let's see what is the meaning of that. Here we have an example. It says, if you come to my party, you will meet Jane. Here in this sentence, I start with the if part. And when I start with if, I have to put between the first and the second sentence a comma in the middle. But it's very different when I start with the main clause or with the result. When I start with the result, I will put if in the middle, so I will not use a comma in this case. I will say, you will meet Jane if you come to my party. So here we have the sentence, if in the middle, I don't put a comma, but if I start with the if clause and put the result at the end, I have to put in the middle a comma. It's a very important rule. Here we have conditional type 1. What is the first conditional? The first conditional is something that I speak and I know that it is likely to have a result in the future or in present time. For example, I have to say that if you want to have pizza, if you want pizza, we will order one. So it is very possible, it is very likely to order food when you are in need for. If you hurry up, you may catch the bus. You will not miss the bus. So this is a very reasonable result to what you say or the if state here. If you are late for your lesson or for a project or anything, don't forget to call me. What is the rule for the first conditional? The first conditional is always comes in the present simple form in the if part. What about the result? The result either be in the future using will, in the future using may, or in present using can, or must, or might, plus infinitive verb for sure, or I can put an order here like the last example. Don't forget to call me. If you are late, don't forget to call me. What about the second conditional? The second conditional is something that you can imagine, something that is impossible to happen. So it's referred to present or future and expresses something which is not very likely and imaginary. So we can say that it's unreal or imaginary situation. In this case, we use if plus past simple, and on the result part, I use would or could or might, which mean that I imagine something, plus the verb infinitive. For example, if she had the book, she would give it to you, but unfortunately, she doesn't have the book, so she cannot give it to you. If they earned more money, they could buy a bigger house. So they were imagining, for example, that they want a new house, but they can't because they have no enough money. In conditional sentences type 2, we can use where as verb to be instead of was with all the pronouns, even with he, she, and it. How can it be? When I speak about something which is imaginary or unreal, I want to express or say that it's unreal more, so I use different type of the verb in the past. If Kelly were here, she would help you. It means that it's impossible for Kelly to help you because she is not in the place. Also, I can say was here because the normal rule or the normal state of using verb to be is was with the singular pronoun, which is the verb or the pronoun she. We use if I were you to express an opinion or to give advice. If I am in your place, if I were you, so I will do something. If I were you, I would tell Linda the truth. So in this case, I will not put will because it's not probability to be someone, but here I want to say that if I am in your place, I will tell Linda the truth. In all the types of conditional sentences, we can use something called unless. What is unless? Unless equal if not. Again, unless equal if not. So if I find negative with if, I can omit if and the negative form and I put unless with the positive state of the verb. Let's see how can I use it. For example, if you don't like this car, we won't buy it. Here we have if you don't like. Here there is negative in the if part. So I can omit if and I can remove also don't and I can put unless instead of both words like this. Here I started with the result. It's not different in this case, it's the same meaning, but I want to make sure that you understand the usage of unless. Here we say, we won't buy this car unless you like it. I omit or I removed if and don't and put unless before the pronoun you. Here we explain more in this diagram. Conditional type 1, we call it that it's called the real conditional because it speaks about real things that's possible to happen. Note, be careful of this note, we can use unless when it's equal if not. If I find negative, I can omit if and the not and put unless like this example. We can use unless he hurries up instead of if he doesn't hurry up. If it rains, we will stay at home. It's very possible, it's very real when we find it rainy, we don't go outside. He will arrive late unless he hurries up. So if he doesn't hurry up, he will arrive late. Peter will buy a new car if he gets his raise. If he gets a lot of money in his salary, for example, he will be able to buy a new car. So it is very real and is very possible. How to use unless again with more examples. Here we have if usage with the equivalent of unless. You will not gain a high score in IELTS exam if you do not learn English every day. For in the equivalent of this sentence, you will not gain a high score in IELTS exam unless you learn English every day. So here I removed if and not and I put instead of it unless. Again, you can't get a good mark if you do not study hard. Again, in here in the equivalent using unless, we say you can't get a good mark unless you study hard. The last one, he won't go sleep if you do not tell him a story. So the equivalent will be, he won't go to sleep unless you tell him a story. Using the second conditional again to revise, we put in the if part past simple, and on the other part we use the present conditional, which is would or wouldn't or could or couldn't, as we say. Here we use it for imaginary situation which has something that will not happen and it's impossible to happen. If I won $1 million, I would buy a new car. Here I'm a daydreaming person, I'm imagining. If I were you, this is an advice, I would quit smoking. If I were the president, for sure I'm not the president, if I were the president, I would lower taxes. They would stay longer if they had more time. It's impossible to have more time. If I won $1 million, I could stop working, and of course this is an imaginary sentence. Let's see this exercise together. Think about the answer. I will leave for you 1 minute. I want to get good marks, then my parents will be happy. It's a real situation. So we will use which conditional in that case? For sure the first conditional. So it will be, if I get good marks, my parents will be happy. I start here with present simple in the if part, and the real or the result, which is very possible to happen, my parents will be happy, will be in the future. The second one, Debbie should stop eating sweets, otherwise she won't lose any weight. She will not lose weight. I want to use unless in this case. What will not happen? If what doesn't happen, let's think. Yes, Debbie won't lose any weight unless she stops eating sweets. So if you find using unless hard, you can use if not first and then remove if and not. How? I can say, Debbie won't lose any weight if she doesn't stop eating sweets. And then I will remove or omit if and doesn't, and I use the unless word instead. The third one, I may see Tom this afternoon. I will tell him to phone you. So that imaginary or possible to happen? Let's see. Yes, it's possible to happen. So if I see Tom this afternoon, I will tell him to phone you. It means that something that's very real and is very possible to happen. Thank you for listening to this lesson. Have a nice day.